My sister stole our family's future. You won't believe what happened after. The silence still rings in my ears, a deafening echo of the day my family shattered. It wasn't just the loss of Grandpa Gus. It was the sickening realization that someone I loved, someone I trusted, was capable of unspeakable deception. I was set to inherit my grandfather's fortune. My sister's name was called first, and what she did next left everyone in disbelief. The day my grandpa died was supposed to just the beginning of a new chapter for our family. A sad chapter, yes. I never would have guessed that his death would tear us apart the way it did. This isn't some made-up drama. This is my reality, a twisted tale of family, betrayal, and greed that still haunts me to this day. I should probably start from the beginning though, so you can get the full picture. My grandfather, Gus O'Brien, wasn't just some sweet old man tinkering in the garden and telling dad jokes. He was a freaking legend in Davenport, Iowa. A self-made man, he had the vision to see the town's potential when no one else did, and his real estate ventures paid off big time, turning him into one of the wealthiest guys in town, though you'd never guess it from his humble demeanor. He wasn't the flashy type, drove a modest car. My dad, Carl, was the eldest of Gus's 3 kids. Then there were my aunts, Sharon and Irene. Growing up, I always sensed this low-grade tension between them, but I didn't truly understand it until I was older. Dad was the responsible one, the rock, taking care of Grandpa in his later years and managing a lot of the family affairs. Sharon and Irene, on the other hand, were always locked in the silent, simmering competition, each vying for something. I spent every summer with Grandpa Gus. He taught me everything about life, about real estate, about how to negotiate a deal. My sister, Alyssa, was 2 years younger than me, and she'd always been the ambitious one, laser focused on her career in finance. I thought we had a good relationship. Alyssa and I were close, at least that was until last summer when everything went to hell. The whole nightmare began right after Grandpa passed. I got the call from Dad while I was at work. Grandpa's gone. It hit me like a freight train, knocking the wind out of me. I wasn't ready. None of us were. The funeral was quiet, somber, just family, a few close friends, and some of Grandpa's old business associates. Sharon, of course, was there, loudly whispering to Irene about Grandpa's estate while the service was going on, which I thought was disgusting. I just hope he finally updated his will. She is. Irene just nodded, her expression tight. My dad, seated beside me, didn't say a word. He kept his eyes fixed on the casket. After the funeral, everyone knew what was coming next, the reading of the will. Grandpa had amassed a sizable fortune, and there were expectations hanging in the air, thick and heavy. We all assumed things would be split fairly evenly, maybe with a little extra for Dad, since he'd been the one taking care of Grandpa for the last decade or so. But there was always this unspoken competition simmering beneath the surface, especially from Sharon. She was always dropping hints about how much she deserved, how much she had sacrificed for the family. Sharon hadn't lifted a finger to help Grandpa in years. Irene, at least, was more subtle about it. The will reading was set for the following week at my parents' house in Chicago, a neutral ground for the impending battle. It was a hot summer day, one of those blistering Chicago afternoons where the air feels thick and heavy, and all you want to do is stay inside with the AC cranked up to full blast. The atmosphere in the house was just as oppressive. You could feel the tension radiating from everyone as we all sat in the living room, waiting for the lawyer to arrive. Alyssa and I were sitting together on the couch. I glanced at her, and she gave me a small, nervous smile. She was just as anxious as I was. Or so I thought. When the lawyer, Mr. Headman, finally showed up, the room went dead silent. A grey-haired man who looked like he'd been doing this job since the dawn of time. He cleared his throat, sat down, and began. And now, the assets are to be distributed as follows. I could feel my pulse quicken. This was it. Everything was about to be laid bare. To my eldest daughter, Irene's face was carefully neutral. To my youngest daughter, Sharon O'Brien, I lead. Sharon let out a small huff. That's it, she muttered under her breath. I shot her a look, but she didn't care. Sharon was never one to hide her feelings. And the family home in Davenport to Sharon. I don't think he had expected to get the house. He gave a small, satisfied nod, leaning back in his chair. Then came the part we were all waiting for. The remainder of my estate, including all financial assets, stocks, and investments, to my granddaughter, Alyssa Marie O'Brien. Headman paused. The air in the room seemed to freeze. My sister, the whole estate? My head was spinning. But she wasn't shocked. She wasn't confused. In fact, she looked composed. She looked satisfied. Alyssa, I heard my dad's voice strained. Is this true? She didn't look at him. She didn't look at any of us. Instead, she stood up and said, I have some things to take care of. Then, without another word, she walked out of the room. It felt like the entire house was holding its breath. Then, Aunt Sharon, of course, broke the silence. What the hell just happened? She said, her voice rising in disbelief. She gets everything. What is this? Some kind of joke? No joke, Headman said, sounding bored. This is the legal document. It's all in order. You've got to be kidding me. I muttered, still reeling. She knew this whole time and she didn't say a word. I can't believe this, Sharon fumed, crossing her arms. That little, shut up, Sharon. Sharon blinked, surprised. For once, she shut up. I said again, it would make it easier to comprehend. How could she do this? How could she just walk out like that? Dad looked exhausted. He rubbed his temples, sighing. I don't know, Charlie. I don't know. The rest of the family was still buzzing, whispering amongst themselves. But all I could think about was Alyssa's face as she walked out, that carefully collected expression, like she had planned this all along, like she had been waiting for this moment. She didn't need us anymore. Over the next few days, the shock turned to anger. The more I thought about it, the more betrayed I felt. Alyssa wasn't just my sister. She was my best friend. We'd grown up together, shared everything. Or at least, I thought we had. How could she keep something like this from me? From all of us? Dad didn't talk about it much. He kept to himself, as if the whole situation was too much for him to even process. I wasn't mad either. At least not usually. This was different. This felt like a betrayal I couldn't just swallow down and ignore. Phone calls went straight to voicemail. I texted her too, begging for an explanation, for anything that might help me understand why she hadn't said anything, why she just walked out like that, leaving us all in shock. Not even a single word. She had gone radio silent on me, play on all of us, but it wasn't normal, not even close. We had a small family gathering at my parents' house, just Irene, Sharon, and me. We were still trying to make sense of everything. Alyssa, of course, didn't show up. She hasn't been in contact with anyone. She's hiding, Sharon said bitterly, swirling her glass of wine. She knows she screwed us over, and she's too much of a coward to face us. I don't understand, Irene chimed in. Why would Grandpa leave it all to her? What did she do to deserve this kind of money? I mean, we all loved him. We all helped him in our own ways. Sharon snorted. Help him, please. Alyssa barely even visited Grandpa over the last few years. Don't tell me she was the favorite just because she had a fancy degree in economics. I'm not saying she was the favorite. Better than us. Are you serious? Better than Carl. Sharon gestured to my dad, who was sitting silently at the head of the table. Carl's the one who took care of Grandpa. He's the one who helped him with his business. How could Grandpa just leave him a house and a fraction of the money? It doesn't make any sense. Dad sighed and set down his glass. Maybe it was about something else, he said quietly. Something else? Like what? I asked. I don't know, Dad replied. Maybe Gus just thought Alyssa would put the money to good use. Maybe he trusted her with it for a reason. Well, she's certainly not doing that, Sharon said, her voice filled with venom. She's disappeared. She's not putting anything to good use except her own bank account. I was fuming inside, still unable to believe what happened. It wasn't about the money, at least not for me. She'd known what was coming, and she just walked away. But Sharon wasn't finished. She had a gleam in her eye. You know, she said, leaning forward, there's nothing stopping us from contesting the will. Irene and I both looked up, surprised. Dad just stared at Sharon. Contest the will? Yeah, Sharon said, her eyes gleaming. Horizon, I mean, something's fishy here. His mind wasn't as sharp as it used to be. Who's to say Alyssa didn't? Persuade him. Don't, Dad. Seriously, think about it. Sharon pressed. Alyssa is a shark when it comes to money. She works in finance. She knows how to manipulate people. Maybe she convinced Grandpa that she was the only one who could handle his estate, and he went along with it. That's ridiculous, I said. But even as I said it, I could feel a tiny seed of doubt planting itself in my mind. Did Alyssa have done something like that? She was ambitious, sure, but manipulate Grandpa? I didn't want to believe it. Is it? Sharon said, raising an eyebrow. You saw how she acted at the will reading. She didn't even flinch when they announced her name. It's like she was expecting it. Dad shook his head. We're not contesting the will, Sharon. We don't have any proof of wrongdoing, and I won't drag Gus's name through the mud like that. So we're just going to sit back and let Alyssa walk away with millions. Sharon's got her face contorting in anger. That's it. We're not doing anything. This isn't about the money. Then what the hell is it about? Carl? Sharon shot back, because from where I'm standing it looks like we've all been played, and you're just going to let it happen. That's enough, Sharon, he said. I won't hear any more of this. Dad just made his decision, and whether we like it or not, let it go. Sharon glared. She just downed the rest of her wine and stood up fine, she said, her voice dripping with bitterness. In the weeks that followed, Sharon's words gnawed at me. I didn't want to believe that Alyssa had done anything underhanded. I tried reaching out to her again, but every time, no answers, no explanations. Just still. It was like she had vanished. Even Dad tried to call her a few times. It was like she had severed all ties with the family. One morning, about a month after the will reading, I woke up to a flurry of missed calls and texts from Dad. He never called me that early unless it was something urgent. Dad, what's going on? Charlie, Dad's voice was shaky like he'd been up all night. She's in trouble. What do you mean in trouble? What happened? Dad took a deep breath. I got a call from a lawyer this morning. It turns out Alyssa's been under investigation for months. Something about embezzlement at the company she works for. They've frozen all her account. I felt like I've been punched in the gut. Wait, what embezzlement? It looks like she's been siphoning money from the company she works and transferring it to offshore accounts. They caught onto it recently and now everything's a mess. My head was spinning. Alyssa, embezzlement. It didn't make any sense. My sister was smart, ambitious but criminal. I couldn't wrap my head around it. What happens now are they going to prosecute? And with the estate frozen, it means none of that money she inherited is going anywhere. I didn't know what to say. All this time I have been angry at Alyssa for keeping secrets, for walking away from the family, that I never imagined there was something like this. What do we do? I asked, feeling completely helpless. There's not much we can do, Dad said. She's hired a lawyer. It doesn't look good. The company she worked for had no idea until they did a routine on it, and by then the damage was done. Millions of dollars were missing and Alyssa was right in the middle of it. She was arrested shortly after. Suddenly the local news was buzzing with stories about her. A young ambitious woman from a wealthy family. It was a nightmare for all of us. I remember walking into that cold. Her face was pale. Charlie, she said quietly as she sat down across from me. I didn't know what to say. I just stared at her, waiting for an explanation, waiting for something that would make this all make sense. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice cracking. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Didn't mean for what to happen, Alyssa. I asked, my voice shaking, filled with a mix of anger, confusion, and something else. I wasn't even sure anymore. You've been gone for months. You didn't say a damn word to me or Dad or anyone. And now all of this, I don't get it. Alyssa looked down at her hands, her fingers trembling, dark circles around. I know I should have talked to you. She took a deep shaky, but I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't want you to see me like this. Like what? I leaning forward, frustration boiling over. Alyssa, you stole me some financial scheme. What the hell were you thinking? She flinched at my words like she was trying to disappear into the background, but there was nowhere for her to go. This was, she couldn't run from the truth anymore. I didn't plan for any of this, she said, her voice shaking. It spiraled out of control. I practically yelled. You were robbing people, your own company. How the hell does that spear? Tears welled up in her eyes, and who I thought would always be there for me, but that person felt like a stranger now. I didn't mean for her to get this big, I swear. I was trying to fix things, fix my life. But every time I thought I had it under control, it got worse. I thought I could handle it, but then it was too late. Fix your life. I asked, completely baffled, what the hell needed fixing. Alyssa, you had a good job, a nice apartment in the city play. You were set up for success. How would you do something like this? She wiped her eyes, unstoppable now. You don't understand. It wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. And when Grandpa told me he was leaving me everything, I thought this is my chance to do something bigger. I thought I could take care of the money, trying to make sense of what she was saying. It felt like I was hearing someone else's story. Alyssa had always been ambitious. Sure, but greedy, selfish, the image I held on to for so long. I asked incredulously, Alyssa, Grandpa gave you everything. You could have done anything with that. And instead, do I stop shaking my head? I just don't understand. I know I messed up, Charlie. I know I betrayed you. I didn't know how to stop. I thought once the money came through, pay it all back before anyone noticed. But then they did, and now it's all over. I fell. Wave of exhaustion washed over me. I spent weeks feeling angry, hating her for what she done. This was my sister, my blood, and she had completely lost herself. And there was no easy way out. So what happens now? My voice quiet. They're prosecuting me. The company's pressing charges. My lawyer says I could be looking at a few years in prison, maybe more, depending on how the trial goes. Play frozen. All my accounts, everything. My stomach turned at the thought. Prison, Alyssa in prison. I didn't even know how to wrap my head around that. And the money, Grandpa's legacy, the family would never see it, never benefit from it. All because of her. Alyssa, I can't believe you didn't tell me I could have helped you. We all could have helped you. She shook her head, tears falling freely. Now I was ashamed. I didn't want you to know how far I've fallen. I didn't want Dad to see me like this. I thought I could handle it on my own. I was so wrong. For a long time we sat in silence. I didn't know what to say, what to think. The anger I felt was still there. Keep making sadness. Alyssa wasn't the person I thought she was. I don't know what to do. I finally admitted, my voice cracking. You're my sister and I love you, but I don't know how to fix this. Alyssa looked at me, and for the first time since this whole mess began, she looked vulnerable. I don't think you can. I don't think anyone can. In the months that follow, Alyssa's trial played out in the public eye. The media had a field day with a wealthy heiress caught an embezzlement scandal. It was all over the news, and our family became the subject of gossip and scrutiny. Char, of course, was furious, not only because of the money, but because of the public humiliation. Irene mostly stayed quiet, though I could tell she was deeply hurt by the whole thing. He didn't say much about it, but I could see the pain in his eyes. He had always been proud of us, of Alyssa especially. She was his little girl, the one who was supposed to make something of herself, and now here she was facing prison time for financial crimes. I visited her a few more times before the sentencing, but our conversations were strained. There was too much between us now, too much betrayal, too much hurt. I wanted to forgive her, to go back to the way things were, but I couldn't. I wasn't sure if I ever would. When the sentencing day came, the judge didn't go easy on her despite her lawyer's attempts to argue that she was just a young woman who got an over-her-head embezzlement scheme. After the sentencing, Alyssa was led away in handcuffs. I remember watching her as she was taken from the courtroom, her face pale and emotionless. She didn't even look back at me or Dad. The family, what was left of Irene, distanced herself from all of us, and Dad was never quite the same after that. He lost a part of himself when Alyssa was sent to prison. As for me, I tried to put the pieces my life back together, it wasn't easy living with the knowledge of what had happened, what Alyssa had done. I visited her a few times in prison, but our relationship never really recovered. She was a different person now, and so was I. In the end, Grandpa's money didn't save any of us. If anything, it tore us apart. What was supposed to be a legacy, something that brought us together, became a curse that none of us could escape. But in the end, we all did in our own way. Life goes on. So here's where I need your honest opinion. Knowing everything that happened, the lies, the betrayal, the embezzlement, do you think I handled the situation the right way? Should I have tried harder to forgive Alyssa? Was Dad right to not contest the will, even if it meant letting her get away with what she did? Should I have tried to work things out? I am open to hearing about it all. I would like to hear what you all think of my family drama and how I personally handled the situation.